Hey you guys, it's time for another treadmill talk. This angle is like the worst, but that's okay. Confidence, guys, confidence. Maybe this is better. There we go. Getting my incline walk in. You guys know, I love my incline walks. They're so good for your hormones. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about how I dealt with emotional eating and how I deal with emotional eating with my clients. Of course, in conjunction with their therapists and stuff like that. I also wanted to remind you guys that I have a food mindset course that is life-changing, and I'm working on changing it to a different platform because I need to increase the price. It's way too inexpensive for the information that I'm giving. So if you're new here, I used to compete. So I competed in bikini and figure competitions. And back then, it was way before it was super popular. Back then, we used to eat like chicken and rice, chicken asparagus, tilapia asparagus, stuff like that. So I was eating about 900 calories, and I was doing 2 hours of cardio and an hour of strength training. And eventually, my body started to rebel, and I started to develop these binge restrict habits, because when you're eating that little calories, and you're a woman especially, your hormones they start to get out of whack, and your body's like, hey, you're killing us, give us some more food. So I started developing binge eating. And at first I was like, it was almost like common in that community, the bodybuilding community. And so I would just go to the gym the next day and try and burn off, the 5,000 calories and peanut butter that I ate the night before. And eventually I started to realize there's something really wrong. Like, this is a problem, and this is beyond competing, because what happened was I stopped competing and the binge eating didn't leave. So I was like, oh shoot, okay, this is a problem. So I talked to therapists, I hired life coaches, and I was like, I'm gonna gather as much information as I can about this and implement it. So the first thing that came up was the fact that, a lot of people, this is like a dormant issue until something triggers it. For me, it was competing. But I realized that in a lot of different ways, food had always been sort of this coping mechanism, right? Because we weren't really drinkers in my house. I used to drink a lot. I used to be in college, I always say I was an alcoholic. But, so anyway, one of the things that came up in my sessions was that as a child, we weren't really allowed to process emotions. Only certain emotions were safe, like anger. So a lot of people who have binge eating disorders rage, they curse people out, they have to throw tantrums. That was me. I used to do that a lot. I used to just throw tantrums as an adult. And so because all of their emotions were not allowed to be processed, only like anger, really, and happiness. And so as I work with my therapist, we kind of started to talk about, okay, let's work on identifying emotions and identifying how you're feeling, because the simple fact of labeling something can actually decrease the intensity of the emotion. And so for a very long time, I had to get in touch with what I was feeling, like what feeling words exist, so that I can explain what I'm going through, because I'd be like, I'm upset, but upset is so broad. It's not deep enough. And I could get to the point where I was like, okay, I'm feeling rejected, I'm feeling abandoned, I'm feeling scared, I'm feeling shamed, I'm feeling nervous, all this stuff, I'm feeling excited. And when I started to do that, my desire to binge eat actually decreased because I was like, oh, these emotions are so intense. And of course, when you grow up in a household where your emotions are not allowed to be processed, you need to find a way to comfort yourself. And food's easy because it gives you dopamine. Notice, you never binge eat on apples and chicken fries, right? It's always something that's high fat or high sugar, high carbohydrate, because you're trying to get a dopamine hit to release the painful emotion. So that's a nugget right there. So anyway, I started to work through that with my therapist. And the other thing I started to work through is processing emotions. Emotions only last for 30 seconds, intense ones, right? There can be lingering like guilt and pain and stuff, but they don't last that long. So if you just sit there for 2 minutes and let the feeling pass, you tend to be okay. You can go for a walk instead. You can text someone. You can read a book. You can pray. You can sing. You can listen to music. There's so many different ways. And there's a really good book on that too. And in my food mindset course, I have examples. And so a lot of it is finding healthy coping mechanisms to reduce emotional binge eating. The last thing and the most important thing is the addiction to suffering. When you are a binge eater or an emotional eater, part of you enjoys the suffering and the shame that comes with being a secret eater, right? Or like eating too much food. You like it. For whatever reason, you punish yourself, the shame, the guilt of it all. You're used to it. You don't feel worthy. You have low confidence. So you keep yourself in this perpetual cycle of binge restrict, shame, binge restrict, shame, binge restrict, shame. And so you enjoy it. Like you like it. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but in your brain, your body's thinking, oh, we keep doing this. We get this dopamine hit every time. So yeah, I'll just keep going through this. And a lot of this is because we haven't worked through the trauma of not feeling good enough and not feeling worthy. And so we have to keep that. We have to keep that cycle going. I didn't feel worthy because I was rejected as a child. I didn't feel worthy because my parents never really gave me much attention. So of course I have to keep that going. Like, because the fear is, oh my gosh, what happens if I don't live in the same state I've been living for the past 35, 40 years, where I have felt rejected and unworthy because my parents didn't give me what I needed. So I would rather continue to binge eat and self-sabotage so that I don't have to face that new reality of I'm okay. I'm okay. And that's a deep one for a lot of my clients, is they start to realize, wait a minute, I'm so accustomed to feeling unworthy and useless because maybe, again, their parents didn't give them the attention that they needed when they were growing up. You know, they're working, they have, all kinds of childhood traumas. So the fear of actually becoming whole and not needing to feel that way is very scary. And that's why it's so important to have someone walk you through this, because getting to a place where you're okay, being okay, number one, it's hard. But number two, it is, I just want you to imagine walking around not feeling like a ball of crap. Just imagine walking around feeling like I'm healthy, confident, worthy. And this is why Jesus is so important too, because that's a whole nother Faith Friday video. But when you stop binge eating, you also increase your confidence, because you're doing something that's challenging, and we know that's how you increase confidence. When you do things that are hard, and when you increase your confidence, you increase your self-esteem. So it's just all so interconnected. And if you're interested in my food mindset course, leave me a comment below, and I am happy to assist you and give you the link to that course, because it is life changing.